Senator for Arkansas.
Vanita Gupta is President Biden's nominee to be the Associate Attorney General. She's unfit for that role. She's unfit because of her radical view that every single American and every single institution in the United States is inherently racist. She's unfit because she lacks the temperament to do the job, as evidenced by her relentless attacks on the integrity and character of judges and senators alike, seemingly any time she had a mere disagreement with them. She's certainly unfit based on her attempts to mislead the Senate in her Judiciary Committee hearing. Now, Ms. Gupta has been before the Congress many times as a partisan advocate, and there's nothing wrong with that. But her past appearances do give us a glimpse of what she believes when she isn't seeking our votes for confirmation. Less than a year ago, June of last year, she came before the Senate Judiciary Committee to testify on police reform. When she was asked, "Do you believe all Americans are racist?" she replied under oath, "Yes, I do." Think about that. The person nominated by Joe Biden to oversee, among other things, the federal government's civil rights enforcement says that she believes every single American is racist. This preposterous idea that anyone and everyone is inherently racist is at the core of a pernicious ideology pushed by the left called critical race theory. But the position was not an anomaly, a misstatement, or a new position for Mrs. Gupta. In 2005, she published an article in the Fordham Law Review on what she called critical race lawyering. In that article, Mrs. Gupta argued that the rule of law and equal justice for all and equal protection aren't the great bulwarks of our liberty, aren't the signal achievements of our republic and our constitutional form of government, but instead code words, that's what she called them, for some kind of twisted racism. Anyone who thinks that the rule of law or equal justice for all or equal protection are simply code words for racism is unfit for any position in our government, but especially a position of leadership in the Department of Justice. The concerns with Ms. Gupta's nomination, though, are not limited to her extreme views on these and other topics. Ms. Gupta has made a career over the last few years on social media attacking the character and integrity of federal judges, judicial nominees, and members of the Senate. She accused 4 different jurists currently on the Supreme Court, of being liars, extremists, dangerous, or opposed to civil and human rights. She must have had a keyboard macro. She just hit a shortcut button, and it said, opposed to civil and human rights. By my count, she's leveled similarly incendiary attacks on the integrity and character of around 50 currently sitting federal judges. It could be more. I may have lost count when it got so high. I asked her about these attacks. While she said during her hearings that she regrets some of her rhetoric, she steadfastly refused to renounce these attacks on those judges. Ms. Gupta has leveled similarly caustic comments against members of this body, posting online that dozens of members of the Senate are, you guessed it, opposed to civil and human rights. She accused one of her colleagues of being a disgrace, another being a hypocrite, another failing her constituents. At one point, she commented, "How many of us are done with Susan Collins' concerns?" Now, I want to be clear. Disagreement with or even deep dislike of members of the Senate is not disqualifying for any position in the federal government. People are entitled to have their opinions. They're entitled to have their political views. But honestly, the Associate Attorney General of the United States must be able to effectively represent the United States in court while also working with Congress on important issues. It might be hard to represent the United States in court when you've accused dozens of federal judges of being opposed to human civil rights or being a disgrace or a liar. Likewise, I wonder what Senator Collins thinks about Vanita Gupta being done with her concerns. Perhaps most concerning, though, is that Ms. Gupta has repeatedly misled the Judiciary Committee under oath. Every single Republican member of the Judiciary Committee joined a letter on March 23rd outlining some of her most blatant misrepresentations. Ms. Gupta made during her hearing. And we asked the chairman of the committee for a second hearing. That request was promptly refused. I ask unanimous consent that the March 23rd letter be included in the record. And finally, Mr. President, I have to observe something independent of Ms. Gupta herself. The discharge petition filed today requires that there have been a valid tied vote in committee. That's the rule we all agreed on at the beginning of this Congress. Yet Ms. Gupta still has not received a valid vote in the committee. In fact, during the Markiplier nomination, just minutes into my 15-minute remarks, the chairman of the committee cut off my remarks mid-sentence and called for a vote in violation of the committee rules. I guess somehow allowing members to finish their statements, which are guaranteed under the committee's rules, had somehow become inconvenient for the scheduling preferences of our Democratic colleagues. Or perhaps the committee's meeting had been mismanaged and they were worried about the 2-hour rule. And it wasn't just me. My remarks were interrupted. At least one Republican senator didn't have an opportunity to speak at all. The Democrats simply broke the rules and voted out Mrs. Gupta's nomination, not in accordance with Judiciary Committee rules. There must be consequences when the Democrats break the rules. And here's what the consequences are going to be in this case. I will refuse consent or time agreements for the nomination of any U.S. attorney from any state represented by a Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. What we need to have is a valid vote in committee in accordance with the committee rules, not ramming through this nomination today. Now today, we're faced not only with the choice of whether Mrs. Gupta is fit to be the Associate Attorney General, we're also faced with the question of whether to legitimize, yet again, the partisan bulldozing of the Senate's rules if those rules are even marginally inconvenient, even in committee session. Going down this path is not going to improve the Senate. So I will be voting no, and I urge my colleagues to do the same. I yield the floor.